isn't it weird how you notice that? Like, that's like, you expect somebody to have like a big dong, right? Like if somebody's got something hanging down their leg and it looks like a snake, you go, oh, okay, big penis. But big testicles are completely different.
All right, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And this is Shot 30 Podcast, and I am Shane Newbert. And hey, we've waited for this episode for a while now, and we're stoked. We have, so we could start it out like with, he's a just jazz band guy. Yeah, and that's just it. Is that all that defines? We have Julian Vandervelde in the studio. Julian was a former professional football player. He played for Iowa. And, I mean, it doesn't stop there. There's so much more because you have really ventured out in a lot of different areas. Like, even when I was talking to my friend Adam Peters about you, and I thought he was messing with me. Adam is a very... He is a big theater guy, and he does show choir and stuff. And so when I was like, hey, I'm going to have this big stud football player on the podcast. And he's like, oh, no, he was in jazz band with me or like show choir. And I was like, no, he wasn't. I was like, quit lying.
Huge thespian, yeah.
And it was, it floored me. And then, that was the same day that I was at on the side of the street, there's a guy that makes food at night in the middle of the Quad Cities, and it was bomb. He makes like rice, like fried rice.
Oh, egg roll guy.
Yeah,
I love egg roll guy.
Yeah, and he was a teammate of yours. Mm-hmm. Yeah, at Iowa, he was a running back.
That's very possible. There's a lot of running backs.
So you don't even know which guy I'm talking about?
No, I know. Like the food guys in the Quad Cities, first of all, are amazing. I think it's extremely underrated. At one point in time, I wanted to start up like a food shop on the side, but then I was like, oh, there's a lot of things I can do, but one thing I'm not very good at is cooking. So I've gotten better at that. That was something I had to improve because my wife doesn't cook, so I had to be the one who did that.
I understand that.
But yeah, it's like that too. One of my best friends is a chef, executive chef. I executive produced a local cooking show for a while called Body and Soul. So yeah, there's a lot. You're gonna name an avenue, and I'm just gonna be like, oh yeah, I know a couple of people with that thing.
Well, you couldn't name a person that last time. You just said egg roll guy.
That's kind of what we go, like, we go out, it's like, oh, it's, 3 a.m. and you're fucking drunk and going, outside of the bars, and it's just like, oh, man, I am so hungry. It's egg roll, guys. And you go over there and hang out.
It is a brilliant move. Like, I mean, I know it sucks. You guys, you're sitting out there dealing with, like, drunk people and all this stuff, but, dude, you are making bank.
You have to make so much money doing that.
Oh, especially the way people just throw. I don't need change. Well, you just gave me 100. You got 3 egg rolls. But yeah, so like, we're gonna talk about. I mean, we got a Super Bowl coming up. We got all this stuff. We're gonna talk a little bit about football too. But I kind of want to talk about you when you were like. Because what I think is so cool about like professional athletes, it's something that I've always wanted to be a professional football player. So many people have wanted, but then you like have no idea actually what's going on inside the system and on the field and in a locker room and stuff like that. So you like fantasize about it. You like think you see it on TV or you think you see it on Hard Knocks and
right.
But so when you were a kid, did you think you were going to be a professional football player?
Not until high school. I grew up like most children, loving things like dinosaurs and fire trucks and shit. And at one point in time, I thought I was going to be a professional baseball player. So I started out wanting to be a scientist. My grandpa was a radiologist. He was an army doctor, and then became a radiologist for like 40 years. and he was my hero. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go into the medical field, and I started getting really interested in science. And there's this infamous quote. I went to the Little League World Series when I was 12 with the Davenport East Little League team. And for however many years, I was the tallest kid to ever play in the Little League World Series because I was 6'2", 235 when I was 12 years old.
Yeah, it's pretty big.
I was kind of large. And they go through and they ask you, like, oh, what do you want to be when you grow up or whatever? And I said, I want to be a theoretical scientist, which isn't a thing.
Yeah.
And I said, what does that mean? I was like, I don't know. Like, you make up theories about shit and then you test it and see if it happens. And that was what I wanted to do.
It's actually pretty, like, a very clever thing to say. And then as long as, like, with that explanation, it's pretty solid.
It's not bad. They asked me, they're like, so what's one of your theories? I was like, well, because this was before, we had like HD and super slow-mo and stuff, so you'd watch professional baseball games and like a pitcher would throw a pitch and it would look like the batter hit the ball. Like there was, just the speed of that game, and he would miss. And so one of my theories was that, this was me at 12, this is the sort of shit I was thinking about, was like, well, the rotation of the ball combined with the speed of the bat, like the velocity and the force that's created in that moment where the ball's rotation meets the speed of the bat, the ball itself actually creates kind of like a little wormhole, and like this, this combination of forces comes together, and the ball actually disappears from our reality for a second and reappears on the other side of the bat in the catcher's mitt. And like when you're 12 and you're just on, we didn't know how cool it was back then. We were meeting Kevin Costner and all this shit. We were just hanging out, and I was like, yeah, that makes perfect fucking sense to me at the time. Nowadays, of course,
like
that's
you guys
ridiculous.
Were just really on a lot of drugs.
Really, really weird shit was going on back then in those dorms. No, it was fun. But that was, so I thought I was going to be a baseball player at that point for a long time, and I thought I was going to be a baseball player until high school.
And you were a first baseman, weren't you?
I was a first baseman. I was the cleanup hitter, of course, and all this, and it was really cool. And then about sophomore year of high school was when I figured out that I liked hitting people more than I liked hitting balls. So that was when everything kind of shifted for me, and I started realizing, like this might be something I can actually do for for my foreseeable future, at least for some free college, if not for for a career.
And like, okay, so now you moved from you were All-American in high school?
I was something. I was All-State. I don't think I was an All-American, but honestly, I can't even remember.
And so now you move forward to college, and now, I mean, we're kind of just doing this in a nutshell because there's so much more to you than just this. But you are in college, and you played all 4 years.
Yep.
And what year did you start starting? Was that sophomore year? Your sophomore year you started?
Redshirt freshman year. So I started as a redshirt freshman, half the season. Played in every game, but started half the season. Played my whole sophomore year. Got injured my junior year, and so ended up missing the first, I think, 4 games of that season, and then started all through my senior year as well.
What was the injury?
I tore my shoulder.
And that's got to scare you too, especially as you're moving forward, like getting like, hey, I really could be playing in the NFL here soon. And an injury like that, it can just, because could this be a lingering injury, especially with offensive linemen, the amount of size. Like, what was your playing weight?
295, 305.
And what do you weigh now?
About 365.
365?
I know, and it's such a point for me because I always told myself I'm not going to be that guy who gets done playing
and then gets bigger.
Yeah, the offensive lineman like blows up to 450 pounds, and I can't get there. My body has essentially decided that this is the maximum weight that it's ever going to be.
But you hold your body weight, you don't hold your body weight like a fat guy.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that there's 2 different types of fat. There's a fat that, hey, I eat too much, and then there's fat like, I don't shower anymore, and I leave food on my shirt. Like, why is there stains on your shirt just because you're fat? You can't shower it or do your laundry.
I'm definitely not that kind of fat guy. No, I mean, I still lift. That's part of it. Is muscles heavier than fat and all that shit. So I still get out and do what I got to do to stay strong and everything. My wife likes big arms, so I got to keep my arms big.
Yeah, I mean, I can honestly tell you, I wouldn't want to be a woman with you. Like, I'll just be blunt about it. I wouldn't want to have sex with you.
That's fair.
Yeah,
that's fair. I wouldn't want to have sex with you. I mean, if you were a woman, that beard is a big turnoff, man. I got to tell you.
Yeah, I just feel like I feel like even you not trying, it would just be very abusive. Like,
you should have my wife on the show or have her call in because she will attest. She's like, listen, my hips are all fucked up. like my joints are bad. Like
she has just
this
as many
side's
football
higher than
injuries
the
as
other.
you.
Yeah, she blames me for all of it, partially because of childbirth. But then the other side is she's just like, yeah, it's like getting run into by a Mack truck over and over and over again. I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't know what to do about it.
Yeah, she showed like it's not like, I mean, it doesn't even matter. Even if you guys met on the internet or through a dating app, it doesn't matter. You can tell that you're not normal size human.
She chose the hard knock life. That's all it is.
Like I love the fact that I'm sitting on this stool because for the first time you're literally a foot bigger than me and 170 pounds. Wait. Okay, so how much you weigh?
365 right
365. You're 112 pounds more than me.
now. Yeah.
It's a lot. That's a big difference.
It's a little bit. You want to
That's a
sumo
human-
wrestle? We go on there and sumo?
I would love to. Do we know how to can we makeshift those cloth things?
You can. I've gotten so into sumo wrestling, you have no idea. That's my new passion.
There's actually one guy, and I mean, I hate to inform you like this, but we had this one guy on the podcast. His name was Craig Gall, and yesterday I went to his improv show. It was the very last Show Us Your Pokeball show.
Okay.
And that's just an improv group. They do all the Comic-Cons and stuff.
Sweet.
And so he was telling me that he has to get custom made like things because he does like man burlesque.
Oh shit, yeah.
And he told me that his testicles were so large. He used to be a rugby player, and he wouldn't wear a cup because he couldn't
Couldn't fit him, yeah.
And so yesterday I saw his testicles. Like, I mean, it was just like this giant bulge. And man, I just looked at it. I stared at it and I looked at him. I was like, how big are each one of your nuts? Like his bulge, like, I mean, I'm not even like, it literally looked like you put the biggest cup on and put it in your pants, but he's like, it's just all my nuts.
Isn't it weird how you notice that? Like that's like, you expect somebody to have like a big dong, right? Like if somebody's got something hanging down their leg and it looks like a snake, you go, oh, okay, big penis. But big testicles are completely different. We still talk about, I'm not going to try and like name drop too many people in this, but like there's a guy named Jeff who plays football with Iowa. No, he's the other side, right? We call him Big Dick Nick for a reason. But in college, I played with a guy named Jeff, and for media day, you wear like your jersey and you wear your pants, but you don't wear any of the other stuff under your pants.
Yeah.
And like it's still legendary how we could all see like both testicles individually, right? Just like on the inside of his leg through these tight pants. Like you've got to be uncomfortable, man.
Yeah.
Like biggest testicles I've ever seen.
Yeah.
It's just weird that we noticed that shit.
Yeah, but I can tell you each one of his testicles were the size of a golf ball, if not bigger. Like, and like Timothy's like, a golf ball, that's not that big. And I'm like,
measure your own testicles against golf balls.
Yeah, put two golf balls in your hand, and they literally fill up your whole palm. Now you're making them just equally, like, the circumference and the diameter, like, it's big nuts. But okay, so now you get what was your draft spot?
I don't remember the exact number. I was in the 5th round, middle of the 5th.
Okay, so was that day 2 or is that a day 3? Is that
day 3?
Okay, because now it's only 2 days, correct?
No, I think it's still 3 days because they do the first round is always the first night, and that's a big fucking deal. And then they still do, I think, 2nd and 3rd, and then 4th through 7th.
On Sundays
on the 3rd day.
Okay, or wait, it'll be on Saturday, yeah, because they do it Thursday night, I believe.
Yeah,
Thursday nights,
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Something like that.
Now, what were you at the draft? Or were you at home?
No, I was at home.
How cool was it though? Like the call, like
it's cool, man. They really because you kind of know beforehand, right? Like we always kind of had this, the feeling of your agent knows, if you have an agent, a general idea, like, oh, these are the teams that have needs at your position. These are the teams that are looking at you. These are the ones that we're interested in, that I've been talking to, blah, blah, blah. And so you kind of know based on the other people in your position group and the way that the draft is going as it goes where you're going to be. So the expectation was always like, oh, if I'm lucky, right? If something miraculous happens, I could go late 2nd day. But 3rd day was really when we were always kind of thinking. And so it was that 4th, 5th, 6th round, those 3 rounds. It's like, okay, this is where the teams that have a need for you have, picks in these places. They've already filled, these needs that they have. So this is where it's probably going to be. And so you kind of get this feeling, and my agent had informed me beforehand, like there were 3 teams that were looking at me. They were very interested. And they picked back to back to back in round 5. So he's like, if you're going to go, I think it was like Pittsburgh, Baltimore, and Philadelphia.
Oh, they just wanted you to be cold no matter what.
So no matter what, I was going to play somewhere, which is good for me. I much prefer that than going down south. I spent a month in Tampa. It was the worst fucking month ever with the Bucks. But it
would have been better if Tom Brady would have been there.
Right. Yeah. I learned a lot from that. We did joint practice with him when he was in Pittsburgh when Chip came into Philadelphia.
Yeah.
That dude, it was the most incredible display I have ever seen of quarterbacking. We practiced with him for 3 days straight. A ball that he threw did not touch the ground. He was absolutely outstanding. It was so cool to just watch him pick the defense apart, the speed he got the ball out, the way he recognized the defense. Everything was perfectly on target. I mean, I will talk ad nauseum about shit like that.
Have you seen Man in the Arena?
No, I haven't.
Oh, it's so good. I'm telling, I would say anybody who is even remotely a sports fan, watch it. It is so detailed, and it's so mind-blowing when you follow the storyline of his career, how none of it actually makes sense. You're like, wait, all it took was this for this to happen, or if this didn't happen, nothing happens, or... God, it's just wild.
It is weird, those little things, because you can kind of pick that out. There's some borderline superheroes in the NFL who are always going to be where they're going to be. Mm-hmm. But then there's a handful of guys where you go, how did you get here? Uh-huh. And it's that combination of, they got picked up, maybe they were an undrafted free agent, but the offensive line coach really liked them, where they connected really well with what he was trying to do. It's if you were on a different team with a different coach, you wouldn't have made it through training camp. Mm-hmm. But here you are 4 years into your career because this thing, and this thing lined up, and you stayed healthy, and somebody else didn't, or something like that, right? That, the combination of shit. Don't get me wrong, I'm just a fat nerd from Iowa. I am not big or overly athletic compared to the dudes that I was playing with, but I irked out a 5-year career just by being, smarter, quicker, and in some cases luckier than other people.
So so you go to get drafted. You get drafted. Now, did you grow up with money?
No.
You didn't have, so getting a free college was very important, and then now getting drafted. What was the signing bonus day one? Isn't $400,000 for fourth round or something like that? Or?
Oh, it's way less than that. No, so they do it. I don't know what it is now. It's weird how every year it goes up. But we weren't poor, but it wasn't, I had never had a large sum of money that was mine. Mm-hmm. So I think my signing bonus was 90, I think, before taxes. And
but that's it's so wild for you to
still, yeah. It's I might not bought a car with it. That was what I did. It was my first, automobile that I bought myself with my money, and I knew I was going to drive out to Philadelphia and need, good gas mileage, something that could haul all my shit and all that. So, it was that sort of decision. It's kind of wild though. My signing bonus was $90,000. I saw 40 of that. Because that's the part of the NFL that I think people don't realize is there's maybe 10 guys on each team that make buku bucks.
Uh-huh.
Everybody else is making, probably league minimum or somewhere thereabouts. And what you do is you pay taxes on the city and state that you play in. If your city and state has taxes, then you also pay taxes in every city and state that you go and play an away game in. And then your agent takes out 3%. And federal taxes come into it. You maybe see 55% of what's on your contract in your actual paychecks. Now, that's not bad money by any means.
Oh, yeah.
But it's not, there's people who have this perception of the NFL, everyone's a fucking millionaire. No, there's 4 millionaires on every team, and they hang out together and do millionaire shit. Everybody else just kind of works out and is on these contracts where they can fire you at any time for any reason, so you're constantly walking on eggshells.
And especially, and are you still currently, you're a record holder in the NFL. Yeah.
I am a record holder in the NFL. Arguably the worst record you could have, but record holder nonetheless.
Yeah, still.
So the most transactions for a single team, 21 or 23, I can't even remember anymore with the Eagles.
Yeah, so that comes from being hurt and then coming back on, and I mean, is it a
little bit of everything, man?
Yeah, because I was trying to understand some of them. I don't even know what some of them meant.
Yeah, so everything is you get signed the first time, and then if they're going to put you on practice squad, they put you on practice squad. And there's weird practice squad rules, if you're on practice squad and then you go to the active roster for at least 3 or 5 games or something, and then you come back to practice squad, then you go back to the active roster. You can't go to practice squad again, weird shit like that. But mine was I got signed, and then my second year in, I got released and then went to Tampa Bay for a month. Came back, they re-signed me. They signed me to the practice squad. I went back to the active roster, back to the practice squad, back to the active roster. And then my third year in, everything was fine right up until the end. And it was the week of our playoff game against the Saints, doing speed squats. And this was right in my prime, and I still am jealous of myself back then. I was like 295 speed squatting, like 400 pounds, like with bands, like, basically jumping out of the fucking building with them. And blew my back out, obviously, because the human body's not supposed to do
Yeah.
and so that was, so then you go on IR, and then you go, like, the next year, I was, like, injury released or something. There was a settlement involved. They signed me back halfway through the year, so I was on, technically I was on the active roster, because they just wanted me around for, character and personality and future development. And so then the next year, I had that run, where it was like, I was on, I was off, I was on, I was off. I was the last man on the roster. You got to have that guy who, like, if a linebacker went down, right? It was like week 2 or something, one of our starting linebackers went down, so they just basically told me, hey, this guy's got an ankle injury, he'll be back in 2 weeks. We're going to cut you, stay in town,
Yep.
and we're going to bring in a linebacker from outside so that we have somebody to backfill that position. And then when the starter comes back, we're going to cut that guy. We're going to bring you back. And that was basically my life that year, was just on and off and on and off and on and off whenever they needed something at a different position.
Wasn't it so nerve-wracking, though?
It's tough because you got to trust people, which in the NFL is really hard. I think I got lucky because Chip was a guy who was a very, very big, like, character guy. He's like, you do right by me, I'm going to do right by you, which is almost non-existent in the NFL. But he was a guy who was like, you have worked hard, you've put in the time, you've done everything that we've asked you to do, you've had a positive attitude about everything, so we're going to, we are a guy who we know that if we, tell you, hey, hang around town, you're going to do that. You're not going to fuck around, you're not going to go out and, and drink and get all sloppy and stuff like that. Like, you're going to chill.
You still did that a little
and
bit,
we're going to bring you out. No.
Really?
No, because I wanted that next opportunity. Like, I wanted to come back. Mainly because I knew I had to have a certain number of games to be vested. That was my last year to be fully vested and get all my benefits and shit. So I was like, I need this year to work out.
And so, okay, now when you move forward in the NFL, like, we're going to talk about some like little specific things, but now you go to leave the NFL. Now, what does the NFL do for you afterwards? Like, anything?
Bunch of cool shit. Yeah, I'm a big fan of like the post-career benefits. You have a bunch of benefits which are super cool, but I can't access until I'm old and broken, and probably have dementia and all sorts of other shit. So I'm hoping that I survive CTE long enough to actually take advantage of that. But in the early days out, like, you get your NFL health insurance, you still get that for as many years out as you were in. So this is my first year off of my NFL health insurance. So that was huge for me and my family. You have so many opportunities. The NFL. Players Association for former players has things like, if I wanted to become a broadcaster, right? They have a broadcast boot camp. They'll hook you up with, like cool. ESPN or Big Ten Network or whatever. They have like different career options. If you don't have your college degree, then they will pay for you to finish your undergrad, or they have like 3 select things. You can either go into like a trade school, you can get your business, your MBA, or there's like one other thing, and they'll pay for your school to take you through the end of that. There's limits to it, right? Like, I burned through my scholarship money, if you will, but at the same time, like, those are some of the avenues that they give you afterwards. So it really is a thing where, like, but the issue with this is you have to be vested to get this shit.
Yeah. So
they know that, like, the average offensive lineman's career is, I think, 2.5 years at this point. The average NFL career is 3.5 years. So most of the people, it's 4 years for partial vesting, 5 years for full vesting. They know most people aren't going to make it long enough to get those bennies. So it's a little, you really got to, if you're on the bubble. We had a guy my first year in when Howard Mudd was the head coach. Or not the head coach, the offensive line coach, which was also cool to have Howard Mudd and then Jeff Stoutland, Jesus. But those, Howard had a guy that he had been with in Indianapolis, who was a dude who had 3 years in. He was on his way to being partially vested, and he was a guy that Howard just loved. Again, one of these guys who had no business being in the NFL athletically, but so smart and could translate Howard, which was hard to do. That guy he's an entirely different animal. Howard Mudd is his terminology and what he wants you to do. So we brought the guy in. He brought him in. Because we had a first-round draft pick, Danny, who was not ready, couldn't really translate what Howard was trying to do. So they brought in this other guy, Kyle, to essentially start in his place while they got Danny up to speed and to like show him what it was that Howard actually wanted him to do. But like we had other guys on the team that could have done that.
Yeah.
Right? Like the vets, the old heads were all like, "Dude, just wait your turn. We know that's a spot that
but he
know,
wanted
you
to
should
scratch
be
his
in."
back
Blah
a
blah
little
blah.
bit.
But he was like, "Yeah," but he was like, "This is the guy who Howard. This is like his son. He's gonna bring him in." So we brought him in. He hung out for whatever it was. He started like 5-6 weeks, and then they cut him. But that's enough. You only need 5 games in a season for it to count towards your
that's
vesting.
so awesome,
So he
though,
hooked him, got him hooked up, which is again that sort of character you don't actually see a ton of. So I think I was really fortunate to have like people like that in my NFL career who were willing to do that for people.
Yeah, okay. So first, real quick, I'll say Shot 30 Podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Castbox, YouTube, all those things. Please like, share, subscribe, tell your friends. Like if you're watching the video right now, go down, hit the subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment, whatever you want to do. But so what was like the coolest, or like I guess there's like 2 moments that I like would imagine. What was the coolest like moment, like, and then like the most like I can't believe like this is happening right now, or like like maybe they could both be the same thing, but you know, like that like wow moment, you know.
So the coolest moment, and this is going to piss off a lot of, we're in Illinois, so I imagine that there's Bears fans all over the place. But the coolest moment for me was, so my 3rd year in with Chip, like I was really humming, right? I was ready to, I'm not going to get into the what ifs, but like that was the year where if I hadn't blown my back out, like I was set up for, future starting and blah, blah, blah. But the end of that season, one of our last games we were playing against the Bears, and we were hanging like 50 on them or something like that in Philly. And so they put in, the backups, which you see in college but don't see a ton of in the NFL. And so me and the rest of the guys that don't normally get on the field got out there for like 2 series or something like that. And the first series, we had like a 60-yard touchdown run, and it was one of those, where it's inside zone. So, I chip the guy, get up to the second level, and I'm blocking, who was it? I forget who all the Pro Bowl linebackers for the Bears are, because there's been so many of them.
Roosevelt Colvin, Brian Urlacher, Hunter Hillenmeyer, Lance Briggs.
There you go. God. And I got up on Lance Briggs, and don't get me wrong, this is like towards the end of his career, so it's not, it's not overly impressive,
freak.
but off my hip, shot off for like a 60-yard run. So that was, I think, the only time that I got called out on like ESPN or something. Like, it's like, oh, the announcer, you can find the clip online. It's like the announcer's like, oh yeah, Vandervelde with a great block on Lance Briggs, and there he goes, da 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 da. I'm like, hey, that's my name.
Dude,
all right,
fuck
cool.
Yeah.
Like that was, so you sprint down the field and grab the running back and everything. Like that's, and there's guys who experience that on a weekly basis. So for them, like it's probably a little bit more commonplace. But for me, like, that was that moment where it's like, this is like, I feel like an NFL offensive lineman right now. Like, this is so cool.
But it's got to be so weird because you go from like being a superstar in college. You are one of the best. You're about to be a professional football player. You're one of the best centers in all of college football. You're center. Yeah, you were center.
Garden High School. They converted me to a center. Yeah.
Okay.
Or Garden College, sorry.
And then you go to not playing, like or like not being on the field. Like, is that?
It's nice because they're paying you.
Yeah.
Which makes the difference. But I had like my mentality was always very different because I didn't think I was going to start at Iowa. I came in and I had come in behind one of the best recruiting classes for offensive linemen because they were coming off of the 2002 season and then 2003 beating LSU. Like Iowa was on a roll at that point. So it was this offensive line mecca. So we had just picked up this highly touted recruiting class, like Dan Doring, Andy Kumpel, Dace Richardson, Raphael Eubanks, like these really like 4 and 5 star guys. So my mentality coming in was, I'm going to bust my ass for 4 years and I'm not going to start. And then my last year as a senior, I'll work my, if I'm good enough, right, I'll work my way into that starting position, and I'll start for 1 year, and then maybe I'll get a chance in like free agency. That was my mentality all the way through, and even as like my redshirt freshman year when I was starting, I didn't feel like I belonged there, and I felt like there were guys that were better, but the coaches know what they're doing and all that stuff, and so they put their trust in you. You got to do what they ask you to do. So like, don't get me wrong, I felt more and more as I went along, like, okay, I'm the guy, right? I can do this, but. In going into the NFL, I had a very similar mentality, because so many of those guys again are just absolute monsters. Just I mean, guys who are like Jason Peters was one of the freakiest athletes I've ever seen. He's like whatever, he's 6'4", 6'5", it's like 350 pounds and moves like a cat. Just nimble,
not anymore.
Powerful, not anymore. Yeah. But that was JP in his prime.
Oh yeah, he was great.
You couldn't get past that guy.
Mm-hmm.
So it's dudes like Evan Mathis.
Was he 11-time Pro Bowler?
Yeah, he was, or something like that. Yeah, crazy Pro Bowls. Evan Mathis came in and he I won't get into Mathis, but he came in and he was the strongest person I'd ever seen in my life. Just unbelievable strength. I mean, we drafted Lane Johnson, for God's sake. Like, these are guys who are, in comic books, they are the superheroes. Right? That level of like physical, just overwhelmingness. And here I am, 6'2", from Iowa. I have long arms for my height, but like Fletcher Cox's arms are a full 6 inches longer than mine, and he benches a house, and I'm trying to block this guy in practice. Like, this is stupid. But that was, my mentality was always like, I'm going up against the best guys I have ever seen in my life. Like, if I don't take my shit to the next level, I'm not going to last a year. So I always felt really blessed to have made it as long as I did. My only disappointment was the end of that third year when I felt like, oh, shit's happening now. And I had finally gotten to that point where it was like, I'm ready. And then I freaking blew my back out. And my quickness, explosiveness was always the thing that got me by, because I wasn't big.
Because I've even seen it, and that's what the very first thing that shocked me was when we were dicking around outside. We did the barbecue tasting or a rib tasting competition. We were the judges. And,
Great time.
We ate. That was fun. But that was the thing that I noticed is, wow, you are super, super quick. And that blew my mind. And so now you're on the field. Okay, how old are you?
34.
Okay, we're pretty much same age.
Yeah.
So now you're also stepping foot on the field with our childhood, the number one player that you were playing Madden with. You step foot on the field with Michael Vick.
Yeah.
And you watch that. And so I already know, but I thought it was really cool when I asked you, I was like, what was Michael Vick like in person? And it just blew my mind when you're like,
he's super cool.
Yeah, nice guy. Yeah. I was like, wow. Because I thought, well, I don't know, in his storyline and his history, but dude, especially when remember watching him as a kid, those first years.
As a Falcon, you can't touch him, just unbelievable talent.
That's when you say the word superhero, that is exactly what I know why new age kids think Cam Newton, they look at Cam Newton like he was the superhero, but Michael Vick was doing things that were completely unheard of.
I don't think they really understand sometimes just how incredible of a talent he was. Don't get me wrong, the closest comp I can make to him in the present day is Patrick Mahomes. But even Mahomes, Mike Vick had an elusiveness and a speed to him, another gear that Mahomes does not have. And to have vision. That arm talent, oh my, the Mike Vick to Deshaun Jackson connection was virtually unstoppable for as long as it lasted. Those two, what are you going to do? You're going to stretch the field with the fastest guy on the field so you can't have too much secondary help. You can't rush hard because if you give him a lane, Mike Vick's going to take off. He's going to outrun any linebacker that you have. But you can't, if you don't sink back to cover Deshaun, then Mike's going to chuck it over the top to him every single time.
Everywhere.
Unbelievable how good that was.
That is wild. That is wild. Now, I just don't want to forget to say this. So you were big on Subway sandwiches before your football games, right?
I was a big Subway sandwich guy. If you will.
But so you would go and spend, as from what I've heard, you would go and spend $12, $13 on a foot-long sandwich.
You got to get it right.
You would eat it, and then you would completely waste the money by throwing it up right before you walked on the field.
I was a big puker. That is absolutely true. I believed. I always felt better. That was the thing. It was you wanted to have the fuel for the game, obviously, but at the same time, you have to. If you're playing as hard as you can play, then sometimes it's hard to keep that down.
Yeah,
and before I knew about like nutrition and all this other stuff, it was just like, oh, Subway, eat fresh. I'll get.
Well, that's probably why you weigh more now. Is because now you don't throw it back up.
I
You're
keep
not
everything
bulimic
in
anymore,
now, which is great.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're or if you get a sponsorship or not, but if this does get a sponsorship for you, I hope it does. But seriously, like HelloFresh has been a huge thing for me. Because like I said, I couldn't cook. But like that shit is super easy and it's super healthy and the portions like come out perfectly for me and my wife and shit. So that's how I'm trying to keep my shit down. Is like I'm on the way back down, right? I'm trying to lose somewhere between 60 and 80 pounds right now, just because I don't want to have a heart attack when I'm 50, right? I want to, be there for my kids and play with them, and and have my joints be healthy or healthy as they can be, and stuff like that. And that's been like a huge part of my thing. Is I don't do Subways anymore. I don't go to Jimmy John's. Like if I can stay away from the restaurant lifestyle.
Yeah.
Because that's tough. That's where it'll get you.
I see. I just use I use Subway and Jimmy John's as I can. That's just my one out. Like if I really need to go, I'm not gonna go to Arby's. I'm not gonna go just because I know how bad it is. And well, I wanted to get back to a little bit of the weight training stuff, and you were talking about injuries and how much wear and tear is it year in and year out because when you think about it, you played football for essentially. Most people are done playing football after about 6 years. It's something like that. 7th, 8th grade, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade through high school, whatever. But you're playing for now at this point, 15 years in a row. Like how much, because I look at powerlifting alone and my injuries were insane. My L4, my L5, my right bicep, my right pec, strained 2 abs. I tore both of my hamstrings. I tore one hamstring at Raw Unity in Florida, and then came back because I had to hit an 800-pound deadlift, and that was my only goal. And then I was so frustrated because I had trained to hit that number in front. I was on that. I was on television. I was on all these things, and I went to pull my opener, which was 705, which is a cakewalk.
Yeah.
And I pulled it, and
you just feel it.
Well, so when I pulled the first one, I get to the top and something wasn't right. And I dropped the weight. Instead of chalk, there was baby powder. Someone had put their baby powder inside of the chalk bowl. They had rubbed it on their thighs, which is normal because the bar slides up.
Right.
But they had taken their hands and touched it and then put it in the chalk bowl, which makes for a very slick.
Yeah.
And so I dropped it, and then I instantly went, I've got to, so my second attempt was 705 again. Because even though I would have had it. So then I jumped to 765. And as I did it, I got to the top, pulled it, and then I just felt. And so I set the weight down, go for a couple weeks, and I took a week off work and just kept my leg up.
Yeah.
And just to let it compact, let the muscle tissue repair itself. And about 2 weeks after that, I tried 800, tore the other hamstring, and then I finally ended up pulling. It was 810. I pulled 810 in training, and then I was in the garage, and I had 765 on the bar, and I was working on speed reps because I was at the point where I could pull 765 for 4, and I pull it, and I'm in the garage. I got this video up, and something doesn't feel right, and because I lived that that was nonstop But something didn't feel right. The floor mat rips in half. My legs shoot. I pull sumo. So my legs shoot directly out right. 765 pounds. Shatters my right foot completely. I pull my shoe off. In this video, pull my shoe off, and it is just a bag of bones.
Yeah.
I mean, it just looks like this. I crawl over, grab my phone, crawl to the truck, go to the emergency room. Now, I get a call that night. I'm getting messages because I posted it. And I was like, just bought this new flooring. It was from Fitness Gear. Fitness Gear is one of the biggest, weightlifting. All the weights at Walmart, Target, Dick's, that's all Fitness Gear. Well, I get a message from one of the CEOs of the company. And they're like, hey, if you take that video down, we're going to have you sign this thing. We're going to give you a check for $5,000. Now, listen, it ain't no $90,000 signing bonus, but...
Don't take that.
I did.
Oh, no.
So I sign it. Next morning, I'm getting calls from all these lawyers and stuff hey, don't sign anything. We, what happened? They are going to owe you a lot of money. I was like, I already signed it. I got some pizzas last night. I could do a new floor in my bathroom.
It's like the guy who spent 5,000 Bitcoin on the first Domino's pizza. Like, if you'd have just held on, man.
It's worth $10 million, right? Or something like that now?
Oh, way more than that.
He
Yeah,
paid $10 million for 2 pizzas.
That guy never would have had to work another day in his life.
Well, yeah, that is terrorizing. But I just, so like looping back, like I know that those injuries, like I feel all of them at some point or another. So like, do you walk around hurting?
I've blocked out most of it, and I realize that because there's things that I do that essentially like take that block down. Right. Like if I focus on any one area, like I can focus on my low back. I can basically like force those areas if I to like recognize it. For me, it's drinking. Like I don't I don't drink much anymore, but I run a Pathfinder game, like Dungeons and Dragons type stuff. On Friday nights. And so that's like my opportunity to, okay, this is when I'm going to cheat. This is when I'm going to let go. So I've noticed if I have 2 beers, I'm fine. It's that third beer that does it. If I drink the third beer, for some reason, something about like that level of alcohol or whatever it is in the beer, like shuts down whatever my like defenses are. And so I will instantly start to feel, well, not instantly, it takes a little bit, but as it starts to hit me, like I'll feel the shoulder, I'll feel the back, the knees, the hips, like ankles, everything just starts this like dull ache that just grows and grows and grows. And maybe it's not even like alcohol, maybe it's something like the chemical, whatever the nutritional aspect of it is that like swells me up or it forces that inflammation back out.
It could be something about you being tense too, like so like the more you drink, maybe like your body's getting tense and putting pressure on areas that it normally wouldn't have pressure. There is some, and I'm very careful when I say this word. We have some rum right beside you there, but I'm very careful when I say it's from Nicaragua.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
fair enough.
I don't say that 3 times too fast. Yeah. So if you want to take a sip of that Nicaraguan rum, and then we can see. Yeah, we can see if you do it. Yeah, you could just. Oh, it's very smooth.
There's the cameras up here, Flor de Cana.
And they've got some like real bad issues. They're like hanging people in the streets right now. It's like really bad over there. Like people are really afraid.
I don't do a good job of
it's
good.
Good.
Keeping up with the present day stuff going on, but.
Tell me what you think.
Ooh, I like that. It doesn't bite so much.
Yeah.
Back end.
It's good.
That's good. I'm going to put that down.
Yeah. I mean, you can drink it all if you want to.
If I don't put it down, well, I gotta go.
We got a big couch, man. We got a big couch.
I know. It's the exotic animal, or pet fair or something back home. So I got to take the kids to the Golden Leaf to...
Nah, do you, your children aren't going to be watching this, are they?
Good God, no.
Okay, so because we had a really fascinating question, and the more and more I thought about it, I was like, this actually is a really good question.
Sure.
Now, so in camp and when the season's going, you probably didn't. Were you with your wife then?
Yeah.
Now, was she with you, or would you be by yourself?
They stayed in Iowa.
Okay.
Don't get me wrong, Philadelphia. Great city for like a 4-day weekend, right? Go see a game, catch a show, visit the historical district,
cheesesteak.
Get a cheesesteak, or better yet, cheesesteaks. Go to the Reading Terminal Market. First of all, you'll find anything that you want. Reading Terminal Market. If there's like a place where if you die and your ghost hangs out someplace for the rest of eternity, I want to die in Reading Terminal Market. That is it's either that or Kinnick Stadium. Those are my 2 locations. Pick one, right? Flip a coin and kill me there. But the Denick's roast pork sandwich is the best sandwich I've ever had in my entire life. It's not even close. And it infuriates me that the cheesesteak gets so much press because, quite frankly, it's kind of a crap sandwich. Best cheesesteak I've ever had was in Iowa, at a place called Stella in Iowa City. The cheesesteaks in Philadelphia, garbage. Hot garbage.
Shit.
Sorry, Philly. All right, Denick's roast pork sandwich is the best sandwich I've ever had, flat out, period. There's a lot of other good food in Philly, but the cheesesteak should not be representative of that city.
Well, that's got to be cool, too. Well, okay, so let me get to... So here's the question. The question was, now you have normally what we've all been led to believe us normies, but is that you have a roommate? So you have a roommate, and now... When do you find time to beat off?
It's a good question. It's a very decent question. So it depends entirely on your schedule.
Yeah.
Really. Excuse me. In college, it was a little bit more of kind of an open thing. Like people would have competitions over like,
who could do it faster,
there was a
do it to 2 girls, 1 cup, stuff like that.
Stuff like that. I forget who it was, but the old guys when I was young would tell stories about some guy who averaged 5 a day.
Oh.
During camp, which is difficult. He like made it it was a personal challenge, right? This wasn't just like he's addicted to masturbating. This was like he was like, I'm going to jerk off 5 times in a day during camp, which when you are constantly exhausted.
Dude, this dude had a fucking huge arm.
Yeah, like 2 a days, and you're getting it off 5 times. Like I don't know how you fucking do that. That seems superhuman. But like in the pros especially, it's a little bit different because you have so much more of a free schedule. Like you have an apartment, you only spend like a week in the hotel room, so like you can hang out for a week, and then everybody goes back to their house or their apartment or whatever it is. And I rarely had roommates. Don't get me wrong, all my roommates were great. Loved the guys Mike Bamiro and Nate Menken and all the guys that I had as roommates in my apartments. But at the same time, like you gotta have your privacy.
Yeah. And you guys are all really big guys, so you guys probably smelled not the best too.
It's not great.
And so, like,
well, team showers though. That's the thing. You get the team shower, so you shower once a day.
Yeah. So, I mean, was it pretty common for so the whole team shower and after the game, like everybody's in there together, like scrubbing each other's backs and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Was it common for everyone to just lend a helping hand?
That was more of a hot tub thing, right? You had the hot tub and the cold tub, so you'd come over from the cold tub to the hot tub, and everybody's stuff's all shrunk, and then as it swells up, right, then it's hard.
It's kind of like those little like things that you like. Remember the little dinosaurs or whatever?
Yeah, and they expand.
Or the pills. They were pills, and then they expand.
They grow into things.
Yeah.
So, you touch tips every now and then. It's not a big deal.
That is a beautiful thing, and so when what was his name? The Long brother, Chris Long.
Chris Long.
Yeah. So Chris Long, when he was talking, I thought it was so funny because he did Tom Segura's podcast.
Oh God.
And Tom Segura just wanted to know so much about Nick Foles' dick. And dude, Chris Long goes, dude, I'm seriously gonna get in fucking trouble. I'm gonna take so much shit. He's like, yeah, it's a big dick. Like, what else? What do you want? You want details like where the veins were? Like, it was fucking hilarious.
It is funny though. It's weird because Nick is such like a quiet, reserved, like very. He's not like the guy that that goes out and is like flashy about it. But he seems like your quintessential, like kind of quiet, reserved, like nerdy guy that you would never expect it. And then he takes his pants off and it's like, oh,
dude. So like, I mean, it's just like this massive wiener, huh?
It's big.
Yeah. Like,
I hope he's not a grower. If he's a grower, there's no hope for any of us. He picked the wrong career. Porn was his career.
Well, I mean, he did use that dick to fuck Tom Brady.
We'll take that one.
But
I love that clip of like Tom golfing. He's like golfing with Peyton Manning and shit, and Peyton's like, yeah, we'll call Eli over and stuff, and I'll call Nick Foles, and Tom's like, that's not funny. Like, dude. Nick's the one that got to him.
If you watch Man in the Arena, he hates Eli and he hates Nick Foles so much. He had Michael Strahan on the show, like, to explain the Super Bowls, to talk back and forth. He didn't have Eli because he wouldn't even mention Eli Manning. It was absolutely great.
That's glorious. That's so good.
So, how many touchdowns have you scored in your life?
Does this include high school?
Yes.
I think like 6 or 7 because I was a running back my senior year until I broke my foot.
I was gonna ask because, especially like in not wildcat, but like big formation or whatever, like because you're such a quick guy. I wasn't even using that as a tool. I was so when I think about football, and this is what I think is fascinating, especially about very successful like linemen. Mm-hmm. I couldn't do it. I could never. They tried to make me a lineman for 1 year, and I was like, If I don't touch the football, I don't want to play football. And I don't know why I had that mindset or that mentality. Mm-hmm. I knew I was a good running back. Yeah. I mean, I was a good running back. I was a good middle linebacker. But if they wanted me to block instead of touch the football, like that, it just demoralized me. I don't know. I don't mean that like I wanted all the glory. That's why I thought football was fun. Is catching the ball, running people over. So like was that something that you wanted, especially when you got to have the ball in high school? Is that
not really? Don't get me wrong. Having the ball in your hands is fun, and I did appreciate the time in high school when I was running back because I was fast for my size, so it made it very difficult to tackle me, which was always a great joy. But at the same time, I am a true believer in that classic Joe Moore quote that there is no greater pleasure in life than moving a man from point A to point B against his will. That has always been my, like, pass blocking, fine, great, I can do it. But you let me, get the first 2 steps in the ground before somebody else, get my hat under their chin, backside arm in, drive the backside knee, and put them on their fucking back. That is the happiest that I will ever be in my life, I think, is that moment of just, I have physically dominated another man against his will, and he was completely incapable of stopping me from doing it.
Yeah, like you pancake a guy and you piss on him.
Just, it's wet out, so you slide and you like drag your nuts across his forehead. Exactly. That's that feeling of just take it.
Yeah. Well, when I was I did want to tell you this because with Iowa, did you know Sean Considine then?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Hey, Sean, you never answered my message about coming on the podcast over the past few years, but that's fine. I've only went to school with your sister and all that stuff, but I'm not worried about it. Not salty. Hope the post NFL career sucks. So when I was in high school, I got a letter from Iowa. My first 3 games of my senior year, I was punting.
Yep.
Just like as normal of a punter as you could be.
Of course.
Like, I could just kick the ball and it go forward. Yeah, like I could just kick it. But so the first game of the year, we had to punt 1 time. We won like 60 to nothing or something like that. We had to punt 1 time. The wind was blowing so fucking hard. And I mean, I got this ball, like, it just caught the wind, and it just went. So my first punt was 62 yards.
Nice.
Now, I don't punt the second game. Now, the third game, I punt twice. But this kid couldn't catch the ball. Like, remember, I played for Anawan Weathersfield, like, small. But this kid couldn't catch the ball. So I would just kick it. It was end over end, and that ball would just keep rolling and rolling. And the kid couldn't even, like, he wasn't going to touch it.
Yeah.
I mean, we were.
This poor kid.
And so now we're through week 3 or week 4 of the high school football season, and I'm averaging 57 yards per punt. I get a letter from Iowa that said, hey, we're interested in possibly, because they post like weekly stats and stuff.
Right.
We're interested in seeing like if you or your coach would send over a highlight video, especially in regards towards punting. And I'm sitting there dying. They sent me a little Iowa hat and like all this bullshit.
Nice.
And like, I mean, I'm laughing because I'm not a good punter.
But the stats say otherwise.
So game 4, game 5. Now we are in a shithole. Like, now it's the complete opposite. Wind's blowing the other way. This punt, like, here I am starting to get like the steam. Like, hey, I'm a successful player. Like, I punt this ball and I watch it, and it looked like it was going to be a beauty.
Yeah.
It goes up.
Wind catches it.
And it starts going back behind me. And I don't know what to do. Like,
yeah.
So this ball is like 15 yards behind me. I mean, it just took it. My senior year was, 2009, 2010. But it's when all the fields, it didn't stop raining. So the fields were all mud. They were all mush. Or they were rock hard molded. Like, really easy to turn your ankle. Really easy. I did in one of those slosh storms. My feet, I remember I was running the ball, and every step that I took, my shoe, it would be up to my ankle, the mud. Like, so you're just like trudging forward. And I had a 70-yard run, a 70-yard touchdown run in that condition. And I mean, it probably takes 18 seconds for me to get to the end zone. You can just see this one guy, he's running behind me, like lifting, and his arm is out. Like, I share that video every once in a while because it's so stupid. But yeah, so my next punt was negative 17 yards.
Oh, that'll destroy your average.
Yep, it did. And then my one after that, I shanked it, and it was like an 9-yard punt. And they weren't interested anymore. Yeah.
That's all it takes is one bad game, man. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I actually, so my senior year, I had a really, really bad injury. We went to the playoffs, and me and a guy in practice, we were just in shells before the playoff game, and me and him bumped heads. Like, I did a kick return, and just like we stopped, but we bumped heads, and I lost my memory, short-term memory loss, and it lasted a whole week. They ended up clearing me to play a week later, and because the game before that, I had like 20 tackles, 4 sacks, an interception. Like, I was really playing well, and So this happens now. We're playing Gibson City, Melvin Sebring. They had 3 Division I recruits. They were loaded.
Yeah.
And I just remember Michael Romshek, this guy who was just an unbelievable talent at running back. Looked like a full-grown man. He had
It's like, here comes Derrick Henry going downhill on you.
This guy had chest hair on his chest hair. This dude's pubic hair hung out of where you tie up. But and so we hit head to head, and I was a big head guy. I lowered my, and then next thing you know, I just taste blood, and I didn't know where I was at again. I played that whole fucking game like that.
Dude, they didn't care in high school. That's just ridiculous.
They did, and I remember the coach telling me, I'm standing there, and he was like, we're counting on you. We need you. It was just shit like that. Dude, we're a fucking 3A high school team. What in the hell? It was just ridiculous. We were all so miserable. I was a part of the 3-a-day era. We had a coach named Jason Spang. He played arena and semi-pro stuff. He was a really talented guy, but he came in with, his playbook was NFL ready, and expecting us to learn that. And then it was, the 3-a-days. It was just miserable. So 6 a.m. till 8. Then it was 1 till 3, and then it was 6 or 7 o'clock till 9 or something. And then they outlawed all that. The 2-a-days aren't even allowed anymore.
Right.
Yeah. It's dangerous.
And the concussion protocols are really, really stringent.
Oh, yeah.
As they should be. At that level, first of all, you shouldn't be hitting anyone hard enough at the high school level to do any serious brain damage. But if you put yourself in that position, you got a long life ahead of you, man. It's probably not the best time to go, I'll risk it for the biscuit. Sure.
We had so I did a crack block. It was my junior year. I did this crack block. I come over, and you're waiting right there, and then this middle linebacker was Elmwood Brimfield. This dude is 6'4". This dude shouldn't have been playing middle linebacker. 6'4", 300 and some odd pounds, just massive though. But he was their best athlete. They weren't the best. But he was so big, and so he turned, and he was quick. And so we just, boom. And we both hit the ground. His shoulder pads broke. My chin strap broke off. And we're both laying on the ground. We knocked the wind out of each other so bad. We were just, ooh. And that's all you hear on the, because they take it from the crow's nest thing. You can hear it from up there, just as, yeah. Well, so yeah, now football now, because I think you're a really great speaker. That's one of the first things I thought when we were doing the barbecue, competition thing. Did you ever want to do broadcasting or anything like that? Because I think you would have been fucking great at it.
Yeah, so when I was a senior in college, there was this whole thing about, because at that point in time, to speak of kind of my eclectic nature, I was a professionally trained or classically trained vocalist, so I performed in operettas and shit like that. So I got to sing the national anthem twice for presidents when they came through.
Would you mind singing it for me real quick? Just do it.
Maybe after the story.
Okay.
I do get that question everywhere. Oh, you're the singing football player. Sing us something, man. But so Big Ten Network came in and they did a story, and ESPN came in and they did a story. So they both kind of did the same story. And by the way, Big Ten Network, way more professional, way better production, like a better experience than ESPN, which kind of surprised the heck out of me. But they did a really good job, and so they, both of them afterwards were like, "Hey, man, if you ever want a job in broadcasting, call us when you're done playing football. Here's a card or whatever. You could do this." And I thought about it for a while. And I've gone through multiple different iterations of my future careers, and I always talk to the people who are doing the job that I think I would like to do at the time. Broadcasting is the closest thing that I've come to being okay, this actually sounds cool. I would do this. I've thought about coaching. I'd love to coach someday, but all the coaches that I had, the best coaches I had, all kind of told a similar story of, well, coaching is great, but my team was my family. I always wondered, I didn't spend as much time with my kids as I wanted to. I didn't spend as much time with my wife as I wanted to.
And you've got young kids.
I've got young kids, and so that's, the guys that I talk to now who are coaching, they're like, man, you got a young family. Like, don't do this right now. Like, when the kids, I deliberately had all of my kids by the time I was 32 so that when I hit 50, they have to get the fuck out of my house.
Yeah, yep.
So at that point in time, if I think I still want to do that, that's the time when I would jump into, some sort of coaching career. I can coach high school for the time being and have fun. But broadcasting, I really did. I thought about it hard. And just, it never seemed like something, I don't think the opportunity presented itself in a fashion that I felt like I could take by the time I was already into my current career. And so now I'm, relatively entrenched in like sales management, which is lucrative enough and easy for me.
Yeah.
So.
And it's, well, sorry, I just noticed how, like, when I sit in this chair, your butt cheeks are, like, perched up on, like, the armrest of it.
Yeah.
It's just, you're so big.
I'm a little wide.
I'm like, dude, I thought you were going to be more comfortable in the chair, and I'm looking at you like, dude, you look like you're sitting in, like, a fucking, like, a car seat.
I've broken so many office chairs. It's been the bane of my existence. I have a stand-up desk at my office because I can't sit in chairs anymore.
But, so now, I wanted to say, I think you would be great at stand-up and doing stand-up, and you had talked about it on your page a little bit, saying that you might want to do it. Like, I think you'd be really, really good.
Maybe I'll write some material sometime. I'll open for you.
Yeah, okay. I mean, honestly, hopefully Nick Foles isn't listening to this, but I mean, you could walk into a room just about his dick story and murder.
Just crud. Hi, Nick.
And Nick Foles, if you are watching this, hey man, I'd love to have you.
You know, Nick. You know. We've all told you. You know.
Yeah, but so we were, my buddy, his name's Charles Carter. Mm-hmm. We were watching the Bears, and Nick Foles comes in, and like it was the game versus Atlanta where he ends up throwing 4 touchdown passes for the Bears in literally a quarter and a half, mm-hmm. and so we were sitting there, and we're like, big dick, Nick, big dick, and so I had all 3 Bears jerseys. Well, no, last year. Who was it? Nick Foles, Mitch Trubisky, and who was the other one last year?
Justin Fields is new this year, right?
Yeah, Justin Fields. Okay, so I have all their Andy. I even have an Andy Dalton jersey, Bears jersey.
Wow, that's dedication.
Yeah. I've got Craig Krenzel, dude. I've got Henry Burris, Cordell Stewart on the Bears. I've got Jim Miller, Chris Chandler, Jay Cutler. I don't have a Caleb Haney. That's one's probably never going to happen. But, so we were saying, big dick Nick. And then my daughter walks downstairs and she's like, what's that? And I'm like,
don't they always? Don't they always?
Because we were chanting it so hard. Like, dude, we thought we brought all that energy to old Nick Foles. So do you miss playing football?
I do a little bit. Not as much as you might think. When I stopped playing... I had a couple opportunities. I went out and tried out with Seattle, and my agent called me and he was like, "Hey, do you want to, go play in Canada?" And that's my only regret is I wish I would have taken the opportunity to play in Canada, because I know a bunch of guys who do play up there, mm-hmm. And they fucking love it, because it's like, the difficulties, the difficulty level is down arguably, depending on the position. They are only allowed so many American players, so they pay you pretty well. Uh-huh. But it's a completely different style of football. They have whatever it is, like 3 downs, and they pass on every play and all sorts of other shit. So, but it sounds like a blast. Like the guys up there are just like, yeah, man, it's like going back and playing college kids again. Like it's it's cool. So I wish I would have done that, but I stepped away mainly for my health, right, and family time. And I was fortunate that the following year, the Steamwheelers started back up.
Oh, yeah.
So that was when that was their first season back. And the owner had been hitting me up all year. Like, hey, man, you ready to come on? You ready to come on? And with 3 or 4 weeks left in the season, their center got picked up by a Canadian Football League team, which is super cool, right? Like, that's the point of that, is you want to have those opportunities for those
But there
guys.
was one man to step in.
And he was just like, man, I don't know what we're going to do at center. I mean, there's nobody else really that I feel like, fuck, all right, fine, I'll ask my wife. And we talked it over, and I ended up playing the rest of the season with them, and it scratched that itch. That was enough for me, right? I might have considered other avenues had that not been the case, but that last little stint with the Steamwheelers, that was enough for me to say, okay, yes, I can still play, but I don't need to do this. So that was, was proving to myself that I could still do it. I think was necessary. So decided not to do it anymore after that. And now I am very, very passionate about coaching. It's just, time management and everything. So I do hope that I can continue in that vein, because football, I can't step away from football. Obviously, this is always going to be a part of my life in one capacity or another. So whether it's broadcasting on it or coaching it or whatever, I'm in, man.
You know that if you ever wanted to go back in the NFL, now, okay, so you're 34 years old. Let's say we wait till next season, you're 35 years old.
Sure.
Now, first time around, you played 5 seasons. Now, if we take it like Tom Brady, you'll still have you could have a 9-year career still remaining, and I think you go back as a fucking quarterback.
Yeah, and just that backup quarterback spot is cush.
Dude, being Chase Daniels.
You make buku bucks to do absolutely fucking nothing, and as long as you come in like 2-3 games a year and just don't throw 5 picks. Like, that's all you have to do. Oh, my God.
Chase Daniel has literally, the most incredible NFL career I've ever seen. I think they said he's made like $80 million now at this point.
Probably, yeah.
And he's only thrown like 40, 50 passes total.
It's so ridiculous.
Yeah, dude. Like,
that's the best spot, man. Like, if you're a long snapper and you fuck up once, everybody, like, you're done. You're done. You'll never play again. If you're the holder and you fuck up once, if you're a kicker, like, and you don't make that one big kick in that big situation, you're done. But they only carry like one long snapper and one kicker and stuff. Like, they have to carry 2 or 3 quarterbacks. And if you're the second string quarterback and you come in and you just play, you don't even have to play average, really. It's helpful if you do, but if you're just okay, everyone's like, well, yeah, he's the backup. We expect that.
Did you? So, like, when you were in, like, did you go back to your room and whatnot and play as yourself on Madden?
I did, actually. That was my one. I'm not a big fan of Madden games. I love the NCAA games. Very sad that they're gone.
They're awesome.
I'm really excited for that to come back now that we have NIL and all that shit. But the thing that I did get, the first Madden game that I was,
what were you rated?
I was in. I wasn't rated very well. I was rated in like the 70s or 68 or something like that. Oh
shit! Okay, no, that's.
I was rated higher than my number, which is the important thing for me. But I stopped buying them the next year because, and this is petty as shit, but I would do like the auto camp or whatever, right? Like so I was on the roster.
You were getting cut on the game?
Yeah, they brought in. There was another guy who we brought in from Miami, and I ended up beating him out in camp for the roster spot. But on Madden, when I did like the auto thing, he beat me out, and I was like, "This is some fucking bullshit." And I never bought another Madden game again in my life. I was like, "You fucking kidding me?" Like, no, this is not real.
Was those Madden games? Were those the ones where you could actually be the offensive lineman? Oh, because shit. They have those now, like in now you can actually be just the wide receiver and play your career. Like, you have to catch the ball, you have to run the routes.
Wow, like, I don't think they did that back then.
Yeah, so like you can be just a cornerback. Like, and one year it had it so you were inside the helmet, like you were looking at the play. But they had it so like they have it now too, where you can play. Like 3 guys play 3 other guys online, and then you be the quarterback, I be the running back, you be the receiver, or you be the right guard, I be the center. Like, we could that you can do that now.
That's wild.
But yeah, so like I'm gonna have to pull out some of my old Maddens. I'm gonna play as you. Yeah, I'm gonna adjust your stats just a little bit, your attributes and stuff like that. We'll get you up to speed, but. Maybe, I don't know, maybe I'll make you the fullback and I'll be the running back, so then we can go back and forth and start a season, see how well we do together.
That'd be fun.
But if they cut you, man, I'm sorry.
It is what it is. But that's the business. That's the business.
But they know how historic, like, even the game knew how historic your cut, re-signed. Like,
that's what I should have done. If I'd have just waited, that guy would have gotten hurt and I would have been re-signed, and I'd be like, oh, well, then this is actually. Okay. Well, that makes sense.
Dude, what if that would have happened, like, literally week 1, you're switched.
I've been so mad. That's all right.
Did you love it all? Loved it all?
Loved it. I won't say I loved it all, but I loved most of it. The NFL is a lot of internal politics and and money games and stuff. Like, that was the one thing that I remember from my rookie season was like all the veteran guys were all like, hey man, we know you should be starting, but they spent like whatever it is, $25 million on this dude who they took in the first round.
Oh, yeah.
So they're like, so they have to play him. They've made that investment. So that side of the game, I was never a huge fan of because I was never a money guy, right? I wasn't on my second contract. I wasn't being paid. I didn't have any guarantees in my contract. So there was always other people who had that little bit of a leg up. So I do feel blessed to have made it as long as I did, just competing in that environment.
You did get a second contract, though.
I did. I wound up on my second contract, which was not, huge by any means, but that's, whatever my first year, where my first one was, 3-year, 4-year contract, or whatever, and so I did manage the second. But they don't, you're always an at-will employee. Unless you hold some sort of, guys have guaranteed money that they can't get rid of and cap space and all this other shit. But unless you are one of those, 10 indispensable guys, you are at will all the time. So it's very, very cutthroat in that regard. I was really, really blessed that on the Eagles, that offensive line room was super close and everyone was super cool, and the coaches that we had were great the whole time. That month that I spent in Tampa, nobody wants to help you.
Yeah.
Right? They're all like, well, you're here to try and take my livelihood and put my family out on the streets and blah, blah, blah. So, they don't want to give me the fucking address for where they were holding Bible study. Nobody wanted to tell you about the drills. Not to mention that the coach we had there, who came from Wisconsin and clearly had inherited a great offensive line at Wisconsin and didn't do anything with them, was fucking dog shit. So he wasn't a good coach. The room was kind of toxic, and from what I've been told, that's more the norm than the other side.
Oh, really?
But I was always in a place where it was really supportive, and the coaches were great, and the vets were great. And I think that was we had some success. We made the playoff, whatever it was, 2 out of the 5 years that I was there, and I think that was a big part of that. Was just. It was a culture that was more cohesive than there is a lot of other places.
So if you didn't, you never get that call, and let's say you don't even pursue trying to be in the NFL. Mm-hmm. Where would you have been right now?
No idea. I think if I hadn't gone to the NFL, I probably would have ended up in broadcasting, because I think that was the next step out for me. Was I kind of held on to that card that the Big Ten Network guy gave me. And I was like, if the NFL doesn't work, right, if it's a short stint, it's a 1-year thing or a 2-year thing, or if I just don't, if I end up not making it out of camp or something like that I think was going to be my next step. Because the alternative was, my initial degrees before I got my MBA were in English and religious studies with a minor in Japanese. There's nothing I can do with that from a monetary perspective, except it's a pyramid scheme, right? I can teach it to other people who teach it to other people who teach it to other people. So at that point, it's either, go back to school and get a PhD in religious studies and be a college professor, or go back to my hometown and become an English teacher and coach the high school football team, neither of which are bad options.
Yeah.
But I think it would have been a lot more fun if I hadn't played football to jump into the broadcasting space and done what Chuck Long and some of those guys have done in terms of working for Big Ten Network.
And I think too, going to Iowa. So I mean, especially you were from Iowa, and now going to Iowa. What a cool place to play college football! Honestly, not the crowd. I mean, and now the wave and the kids and all this stuff. It is just, it's out of all the colleges I've been to and partied at, and that was one of the absolute cleanest, most respectful. Yeah, I mean, I went and partied with he's a neurosurgeon now. And so he was had an appointment, and then after, he was learning how to separate somebody's, I don't know.
Their spinal column or something?
Yeah, and then he gets back and we were butt chugging. Dude, we had a bottle of Vortex and we put it on our buttholes and we were tilting over to see who could get drunk faster. It was me. I ended up getting so fucked up. We didn't drink anything before that, but I put it and tilted over and I just started puking. I was like, what is going on here? I was like, maybe it's just pouring through me and coming out. It's going through my intestines.
That tissue absorption in your anus is insane.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's why. That's why I don't do that anymore. And then when I saw that show with John Cena and John Cena did it, I was like, man, everybody wants to give him. I was butt chugging a long time ago.
Before John Cena was.
Yeah, that was a terrible idea though. And one time with that same neurosurgeon, guys, I don't know how you're giving him a job or trust this guy.
Don't name drop this guy. His business will instantly tank.
I'm going to bleep it. Right here. No, okay, I won't do it. His name's Nick. But no, Man, I got so messed up with that guy one time too, and I don't know. I ended up waking up and I was naked, and I was covered in puke, but the puke was just completely colorful, and it was loaded with Mike and Ike's. Mike and Ike's, like the little candy, and I was like, "Who the fuck brought Mike and Ike's to a party?" Like, and I was
Somebody
like,
who knows how to party.
That's
clearly.
what I was like. I want to know. I want to know who this guy was, or girl. I don't know, or multiple genders, whatever. Yeah, I want to know who that was. But yeah, so. I mean, well, first of all, I would love to have you back. We're right at our lips time, an hour and 15. It blew by fast. I would love to have you back if you want to be back. Maybe we'll do like a cooking competition. We'll do some weightlifting shit.
I'm all about it. I would love to make me a regular or something. We'll cook something. I notice I keep glancing behind you because you've got the fucking the Pop Funkos. You've got the Cubone and the Groot and all this stuff. And I'm like. One of my big things is I'm a massive nerd. Right, was a nerd a long time before I was a football player. I was that nerd who like printed out spell sheets from the anime that I was watching and handed them out to my friends so we could like do spells at each other in the hallway in high school. Like that level of nerd. So like we could just talk. We could do an entire show just on the shit you've got on the shelves. We'll do a cooking show. We'll do a lifting show. We'll get Hayden in here and do some shit. And let's fucking do this.
I'm in, but the only problem is, I tried to book you for a podcast literally, what's this now, 8 months ago.
It's tough.
And so I had to pinpoint one day,
It's
like
tough.
one block, and you weren't even here on time. Like, I pinpoint a block, and I message you like, hey, super excited. Like, he's not messaging.
I was so tired. Oh my god, it was such a long night last night.
I can't believe you made it in the NFL with that bullshit you pulled here today.
Dude, it was bad. I feel really bad because the old rule of like, if you're early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late. Right? That's my life now. I'm late everywhere.
Yeah, so you just decide to be not just late, like
constantly stressed with how late I am to everything. Ugh.
I'm the opposite. My anxiety will get so bad if I'm not like 30 minutes early for something. I'm so like I just can't help it. Like I think that even when I worked at the prison, I had to be there at like 2:50 for roll call, and I would be at the prison at like 2:20, just because I thought, like, what if I'm in the parking lot and then an explosion happens and I have to run over and save someone? Like, I don't know. Weird shit happens though with me all the time. Yeah. So we'll talk more about like in the locker room beating off and all that stuff.
Sure.
And then we'll do some. I'm in for some. Like, we really want to do like a cooking show. We didn't even talk about the Super Bowl real quick. Let's talk.
Yeah.
What we got to do, at least do a picks and what you think. Give an evaluation.
If you gave me $1,000 and said, here, put this on a team that you think is going to win, I would put it on the Rams because I think that defensive front is so ridiculous, and I think that their tools offensively, like you have Jamar Chase and everything on the Bengals, I think their running game is better, but I just don't know that the Bengals secondary can contain the Rams receiving core for the entire game. With that being said, I am absolutely not betting against Joe Burrow at this point. Like, first of all, if you have a superior running game, you always have a chance, which they do. Mm-hmm. The Joe Burrow at this point, he's been under duress. We've seen what happens. Like, yeah, he can get sacked, whatever it was, 9 times in a fucking game, and still do enough ridiculous shit to win. Like, I am not betting against Joe Burrow, so I think the Bengals are going to win.
Give me a score, too. Wait.
Oh, the way this postseason's going, let's go like 27-24 on a last-second field goal.
Yeah.
That just seems to be the fucking thing this year.
Okay, well, I'm going to go with, I think Odell Beckham. I think what happens is halftime comes out, Snoop Dogg, Eminem, they're all doing their thing. But I think Odell actually has a woman shit on his chest.
At halftime?
At halftime. Because the Rams are going to be down 21-3. Mm-hmm. And they're like, what's wrong with our offense? Like, we got to get Odell shit on real quick.
Shit on you, guys. We forgot our entire pregame ritual where a woman shits on Odell.
He's going to come out like a rabid dog, but it's not like foam in his mouth. It's just shit. He's gonna have 200 yards receiving in the second half of the game. Cooper Kupp is going to catch 3 times. Rams are going to win, and it's going to be 39-34.
Wow.
39, 34. I just think it's getting. I don't even know how you get to a 39 score.
Can we amend that to 35, 34 so that the final combined score of the game is 69?
Yeah, let's do that.
Nice.
Let's do that, baby. Yeah, let's do it. I like it. Yeah, I don't believe any of our predictions will be correct, but if they are, you heard it here first. And I might just put this episode up right the fuck now. Julian will be back. Do you have anywhere that you want people to follow you? Any links or anything like that?
Not really, man. I mean, I'm on
OnlyFans?
I'm on Twitter at Vandervelde if you want to look me up. So it's just my last name, but with Batman in front of it, obviously. The Quad City Throwing Club has a Facebook page.
Oh, we didn't even talk about that. We didn't even talk about the Highlands.
Our Highland Games. Like I said, man, I'll be back. I'll be fucking back. We'll have that. So Quad City Throwing Club on Instagram and on Facebook is fun. I don't like monetize any of my social media yet. My wife just convinced me to get a TikTok. Which was obviously a terrible idea because they have you pick your favorites at the beginning. Right?
Did you pick me?
It was like anime, and I didn't know you were on TikTok. So it was anime, video games, sports, and one other thing, and food. And what I'm told is that the algorithm takes the things that other people who like your likes do, and they send it to you. So the first 2 days of scrolling through TikTok was nothing but huge titted redheads and shit like that. I was just like,
that's what mine is now.
I had to show it to my wife. I was like, just so I don't get in trouble, because you're going to think that I looked this stuff up. Like, is it supposed to do this? And I just start scrolling through, like, why is this all I'm getting? And she's like, well, clearly you have a type. I'm like, your tits are huge, honey. This is not a shock to you. But no, so that's it.
What it does too is it takes, like, not to sell you out in front of your wife, because I'm sure she might watch us.
She might. You never know.
So when you watch a video for a longer duration, so let's say you have 10 videos and 2 of them are like naked women, or men, whatever you want.
Whatever you're into.
So let's say you stop, like you're like, oh, stupid bowling video, oh, stupid cricket video, oh, huge nuts, oh, big boobs, and you stop. And you watch that video and then it's like, whoa, this caught your attention. So then they send you to that algorithm. And they start pushing that more.
Gotcha.
Because whether or not you realize, or you're not liking it, you're not following them, you spent a little bit more time on those pair of
tricky,
titties.
Man. Shit's tricky. That's why they have the ones where, like, they play a whole song. And then they hold some up in front of them, and just at the very end of the song, they, like, drop it and they're wearing a bikini or something. It's because it's like, because they want you to watch that video for the whole thing instead of just being like, flip.
Yeah, clickbait's terrible in today's world. Like, if you want to tease us, just give us what we want. Just give us what we want. That's all we're asking for.
It's all look but don't touch.
This is Shot 30 Podcast. I am Shane Newbert. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. As always, he will be back. And next time, I don't know what we'll do a cook-off. We'll do we'll just do it all.
We're have some fun.
We might make a porno. That's it.